Last time you remember, Rocky was almost blown up on purpose when a missile on which he was riding was sabotaged by some unknown person.
Unknown? Allow me to present my card.
Yes, of course, Boris Badenov was at the bottom of the whole thing.
Isn't he always?
But Rocky soon straightened out the missile and recovered the trucks full of Upsidaisium. Then one of the sergeants discovered Boris's subtle form of sabotage.
A monkey wrench.
And Boris fled for his life.
After him!
With our friends hot on his heels, the harried villain ducked through a nearby door and slammed it behind him.
Well, Boris?
Who's there? Oh, is you Mr. Big Old Bossman, sir?
Of course. Well, Badenov, you have failed again, and again, and again.
Look at it this way, Chief. I'm consistent.
You are a bungler. You have no brain.
Yes, boss.
Now we're trapped in this room. How are we to escape?
I tell you what, you use brain. I bungle my way out.
He ducked into this supply room, Bullwinkle.
Is he still there?
I can hear somebody breathing.
Well, that may be me. I often do that.
Shh! Somebody's coming.
Get ready.
Good evening, gentlemen.
Hi, General. Gee, that looked like...
What does that sign say, Rock?
Out to lunch, I shall return.
Hey, no.
But I still hear somebody breathing.
Well, I'm still at it, you know.
Let's see who it is.
And as our boys threw open the door, a sinister voice said,
Come in, gentlemen. I've been expecting you.
Well, that's mighty nice of... Hey, Rock, there's nobody here.
No, then what's making that shadow on the wall?
You mean the one pointing that revolver at us?
Yeah, that's the one.
Hokey smoke, to coin a phrase. Our boys have been captured by Mr. Big himself. Meanwhile, back in the hallway...
Search every nook and cranny. He mustn't get away. Good evening, General. Good evening, General. Cover that area so that... Hey, now, just a minute. I'm the only general around here. Stop him. Stop that man. Stop him. Stop that man. He's an imposter. An imposter. Don't just stand there, you idiots. Arrest him. Don't just stand there, idiots. Arrest him.
Which one do you believe, Chauncey?
The little one.
Why?
He has 6 stars.
I've got 6 stars. Yes, but yours don't lie that.
And so the two soldiers seized the real general and bundled him off to the brig.
Boris, darling, is that you?
Natasha, who boy? We're in Cloversville, Honeybun. They think I'm real general.
Oh, good. Let's go, darling.
Go when I can give orders instead of taking them? Don't be silly. All right, you men. Attention. Right face, left face, right face.
And Boris, crazed with power, began to march the entire garrison back and forth. Back in the gloomy supply room, Rocky and Bullwinkle were still facing the menacing shadow of Mr. Big.
Well, gentlemen, you seem to have stumbled into my hiding place.
We'd be happy to stumble out again.
Impossible.
What are you going to do with us?
The only thing I can think of is to eliminate you.
There must be something else.
Silence.
Bullwinkle,
What is it, Rock?
we only have one chance to get out of here.
That's a little better than I figured.
We gotta rush him.
Rush him? I can't even see him.
The light's coming from behind those boxes. He must be there.
But look at the size of him.
It's our only hope.
What's all that whispering there?
You hit him high and I'll hit him low.
Very well. You asked for...
Go, Bullwinkle!
And our heroes launched themselves directly at their adversary. What will be the outcome of this titanic struggle? We'll find out next time in Battle of the Giants, or It Takes Two to Tango.
Long, long ago in a kingdom, there was a little chimney sweep who was very, very, very poor. The reason that he was so very poor was that this kingdom had no chimneys. Why, after a whole year of hard work, he showed a profit of only 2 cents, and that had been left to him by a wealthy uncle. He decided to celebrate and do something that he was only able to do one day a year: eat. Now, ordinarily, 2 cents doesn't go very far, but if one uses his head and buys wisely...
Special. Day-old fish, 2 cents. Get 'em while they last.
Hey, you want to buy a bag of oysters?
No.
Sack of shrimps?
No.
Carton of crabs?
No. Ask me if I want to buy a day-old fish.
Hey, you want to buy a day-old fish?
No, but that's all I can afford, so give me a fresh old one.
Sorry, I just sold the last one, but I'm gonna give you a 7-day-old fish. Here.
With that, an overpowering aroma filled the shop, and the little chimney sweep reeled dizzily and said,
What's that odor?
What you talk? I don't smell nothing.
Now, the young man was hungry, but not that hungry. In 4 quick strides, he reached the doorway, but the fishmonger waved the fish at him and stopped him colder than a mackerel, a 7-day-old mackerel. When he came to, the fishmonger had a strange look in his eye, and he was saying,
Hey, kid, this is a magic fish. It has lots of power. Oh, boy. Keep it with you, and you're gonna have a good luck.
How much does it cost?
Nothing. Just to get it out of the shop.
That evening, in his furnished hovel, the little chimney sweep was about to cook the fish when the door opened and a messenger from the palace entered.
Is your name Sea Sweep? What is that awful odor?
Yes, it is, and that's my dinner. What's up?
The king is having a ball tonight. You're invited as the guest of honor.
Me? Guest of honor? The king doesn't even know me.
Well, that's a fairy tale for you. Be there at 8.
The young man was amazed when suddenly the old fishmonger's words came back to him.
Keep this fish with you, and it will bring you good luck.
Say, that's right. I've never been invited to the king's palace before today. It must be good luck. I'll keep it with me, always.
Promptly at 8, the little chimney sweep arrived at the king's palace, and the ball turned into an instant failure.
Oh, good heavens, who invited you?
You did, sire.
The king would have carried this discussion further, but there was a certain air about the young man that prevented this. By now, the guests were leaving the party in droves, and the palace was declared off limits. The king had to act, and act fast.
I must get this person out of the country. I hereby appoint you a prime minister, and am sending you to serve in my brother's kingdom across the sea.
Early the next morning, one of the king's fastest ships sailed out of the harbor. Aboard were 16 cats, droves of seagulls, and 1 passenger, the little chimney sweep with an 8-day-old fish. When he arrived at the new kingdom, he found it under siege. A flotilla of enemy ships were bombarding everything in sight. As new prime minister, his duty was to save the kingdom. Not having a sword, he drew his now 2-week-old fish and boarded the enemy flagship.
Stop this bombardment! Have you no sense of decency?
The attacking force had no sense of decency, but it was clear that they had a most acute sense of smell.
Retreat!
And that they did most rapidly. The kingdom was overjoyed.
Now I shall come ashore and minister primes for you.
No, no. As prime minister, your first job is to return to my brother's kingdom and deliver a birthday present to him.
Present? What is it?
You.
So, once again, he crossed the sea. However, halfway home, he encountered a raging storm, during which a terrible thing happened. His enchanted fish was washed overboard.
Good heavens! My good luck is gone.
With that, his ship was smashed to bits by a gigantic wave, and he was cast into the boiling sea. Weeks later, tattered and weak from hunger, the little chimney sweep staggered onto the sandy shores of his home, and who should be on the beach but the king, who was celebrating his birthday by having a weenie bake. The little fellow crawled up to the king and said,
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you.
But since he had lost his enchanted fish, nothing had gone right. He was accused of being a weenie bandit and thrown into a dungeon.
Happy birthday, dear highness.
Years later, the little chimney sweep, gray and broken, was given a full pardon.
Happy birthday to you.
Of course, he didn't go back to being a chimney sweep, for he had had a taste of success, and he knew that if he was ever to rise to those heights again, he would have to get another enchanted fish. The moral to this story is that he who aspires to greatness should remember fishing might make it so.
it looked for a while as if our heroes really had it made, didn't it? They discovered the floating mountain full of Upsidaisium and flew it to Washington in spite of the attempts of Boris and Natasha to stop them.
Phui, foiled again.
That's curses foiled again, darling.
Please, Natasha, this is Kitty's show.
But things began to go wrong when Boris disguised himself as Rocky in order to steal the Upsidaisium. And although he failed in his nefarious attempt, he did manage to escape disguised as a famous general.
Don't worry, I shall return.
But in escaping, he had left our heroes at the mercy of his superior, Mr. Big.
Gentlemen, I'm afraid your hour has come. Mr. Big has spoken.
Our hour has come.
Is that standard time or daylight saving?
Bullwinkle, we gotta rush him.
Rush him? I can't even see him. Just that shadow on the wall.
The light's coming from over that way. He must be there.
There's no use whispering, gentlemen.
You hit him high, I'll hit him low.
I must bid you good...
Now, Bullwinkle!
And our brave boys hurled themselves directly at Mr. Big. Bullwinkle's effort to hit him high failed when he hit the opposite wall.
I must have gone right through him.
But Rocky's hitting him low had better luck, for he crashed directly into Mr. Big?
Bullwinkle, look at him.
That's Mr. Big.
Why don't you pick on somebody your own size?
He is the littlest thing I ever did see.
But how come your shadow looks so fierce?
Oh, that was quite easy. I just did this in front of the light. The shadow of the gun was supposed to frighten you away.
Well, we were a little scared.
Then why did you attack me?
'Cause we're a little stupid, too.
Well, looks like it's the end of the trail, Mr. Big.
Not quite, my fuzzy friend.
Grab him, Bullwinkle!
Too late for Mr. Big dashed between Bullwinkle's legs and out of the room.
You let him get away, Bullwinkle!
If I was just knock-kneed instead of bow-legged, I'd have got him.
Quick, after him!
But with astounding speed, the tiny figure of Mr. Big dashed down the hallway toward the main Upsidaisium vault.
He's gonna get to the Upsidaisium, Rock.
I don't think so, Bullwinkle. Look what's in front of the vault.
Sure enough, two brawny military policemen stood guard before the door armed with heavy nightsticks. But when they tried to stop Mr. Big, they succeeded only in knocking themselves out.
At last I have arrived at my goal, the world's entire supply of Upsidaisium.
Meanwhile, in the Fort Knick-Knack guardhouse, General Broadbeam was still trying to prove to the provost marshal that he wasn't an imposter.
Just take this examination.
But I'm a general. Look at these stars.
You might have bought them at the 5 and 10. That's where I got my eagles.
But confounded bogus, you know me.
What makes you think so, stranger?
Stranger? Bogus, you're my brother.
Sentiment will get you nowhere, fella. Now, just answer these questions.
And in the meantime, the genuine imposter, Boris Badenov, was having the time of his life.
Left column march, right column march.
Boris, we got to go.
Oh, please, Natasha, I'm just crazy about giving order.
Darling, you just crazy. Period.
Pass in review.
And Boris would have had a delightful afternoon if a voice hadn't suddenly called.
Hey, General, sir!
Oh.
I don't like to interrupt you, General Sir, but that Mr. Big feller is in the Upsidaisium vault.
Well, I tell you what we're going to do. You two stand over here against the wall.
What's he doing, Rock?
I don't know, but remember, he's a general.
Yeah, maybe he's got a plan.
And Boris certainly did, for he stood before a line of soldiers and commanded.
Left face, ready, aim, fire.
And a volley of rifle shots rang out. Don't miss our next exciting episode. Bye-bye, Boris, or farewell, my ugly.
And now, here's Bullwinkle's Corner.
Today's offering is The Raven by Edgar Allan Poe. Once upon a midnight dreary, while I pondered weak and weary over many a quaint and curious volume of forgotten lore, suddenly there came a tapping. 'Tis some raven come a rapping at my chamber door. Only this and nothing more. No raven. Back into my chamber spooky, feeling sad and somewhat kooky. Come in. Hey, you're no raven. You're a woodpecker. Quickly then I grabbed a poker. Okay now, you feathered joker, I'll teach you to interrupt a verse by Edgar Allan Poe. Now the room is round me waving. Feels like I've been in a cave-in. When will next I read The Raven? I can tell you, nevermore.
Peabody here with another serving of instant history.
The Wayback Machine's all warmed up, Mr. Peabody.
Excellent, Chairman. Then we're off to a town named St. Joseph, Missouri. The year is 1860, and the historical event is the start of the Pony Express. In the twinkling of an eye, the Wayback had deposited us inside the Pony Express office. We arrived in the middle of a hot debate.
Now look, you claim you'll deliver mail to Sacramento, right?
Right, but
Then deliver my message.
what you're asking is impossible.
Either you're going to deliver it or I'm going to sue you for false advertising.
Why can't you deliver his message, mister?
'Cause he writ it on a boulder, that's why.
Dear Fargo, we'll soon have the business assigned Wells. Well, offhand, sir, I'd say that boulder weighs at least half a ton.
Yep, and getting it to Sacramento's gonna be a problem.
Decidedly so. The strongest horse in the stable was saddled, and the boulder, with much effort, was lashed to a rider's back.
Think you can manage it, Charlie?
I'll sure give it a try, boss.
Charlie did try. He urged his valiant steed forward. The horse took one step, and the Pony Express stable had a new seller.
Isn't there anything you can do to help them, Mr. Peabody?
Of course there is, Sherman. Sir, get me one stick of dynamite. 5 minutes later, the express office shook with a resounding explosion.
That boulder down there is nothing but a mess of pebbles.
Exactly. Now, all you have to do is transport the pebbles to Sacramento and then reassemble them into the boulder again.
What a brilliant idea.
Yes, isn't it? That afternoon, 50 Pony Express riders, each carrying a pebble, set out for California. However, one pebble still remained.
It's this one with a period on it. We're plumb out of riders, and the message won't be complete without a period.
And that is how Sherman and I found ourselves in the employ of the Pony Express. What we didn't know was that a tribe of Cherokee Indians was in the employ of Mr. Wells.
Indian chief see 'em riders down there? Me want 'em them ambushed. Indian understand?
Sure, we understand. You want those two guys knocked off.
Right. Me pay 'em heap big wampum.
Oh, knock off that wampum jazz. What we want is cash, cold, hard cash.
Sherman and I entered Intercepted Pass, which was the only route to Sacramento. The perfect spot for an ambush was where the pass came to its narrowest point.
What Indian got 'em in sack? Rocks?
No, these are Charlie Barnett records.
Cherokee?
Yeah, crazy, huh? You really dig? Well, what I'm gonna do now is dump 'em over the cliff and bury those two alive.
It was a diabolical plan, and it would have succeeded, except that Intercepted Pass was infested with downdrafts and upwinds. The records were poured out, but instead of cascading down, were caught by the winds and sent sailing up.
Look up there, Mr. Peabody. What is it?
That, Sherman, is the big disc jockey show in the sky. We navigated the pass without further incident and stopped at a small creek to water our horse.
Now what Indian do?
This time we're taking no chances. See these?
Tiny arrows.
They're not arrows. They're 33 1/3 long playing needles dipped in poison. That'll stop those two for sure.
Did you hear that, Sherman?
I sure did. What is it, Mr. Peabody?
Indians with long playing needles, Sherman. I'd know that sound anywhere. Quick, pretend we're going to take a nap. Well, my boy, I think 40 winks would be appropriate.
And how, Mr. Peabody? I'm tired.
We got out the blankets, but instead of sleeping beneath them, we bundled them up to look as though we were beneath them. And after crawling off into the brush, we waited for the attack. It wasn't long in coming. Of course, Mr. Wells and the Indian chief were in for a disappointment.
I'll be darned. They tricked us.
Yeah, and what's more, look at those blankets. They're still alive.
You mean the needles didn't kill the blankets?
Right. I don't understand.
Maybe they weren't poisoned.
I dipped them myself.
Are you sure?
Positive. Taste one.
Yeah, all right.
After dark, Sherman and I retrieved our horse and continued our journey. 2 weeks later in Sacramento, our pebble was added to the boulder.
This is a proud day for us. The mail got through, and now let's celebrate.
We'd like to, sir, but Sherman and I have another job to do.
Another job?
Yeah, Sherman, I was just handed this onion with a message on it. I promised we'd see that it got to Chicago.
But gee, Mr. Peabody.
Now, Sherman, we assisted the Pony Express. The least we can do is to help Western Onion.
last time, we left things in a pretty pickle indeed. General Broadbeam was in the guardhouse taking an examination to see if he was sentenced to the jute mill or the rock pile. The villainous Mr. Big was alone in a vault full of precious Upsidaisium, and our heroes, Rocky and Bullwinkle, had just been placed in front of a sinister-looking wall by none other than Boris Badenov, disguised as...
General Badenov, please. Okay, boys. Left face, ready, aim, fire!
A volley of rifle shots rang out, and our boys would have been in a bad way but for one thing. In ordering left face, Boris had pointed them in the wrong direction.
Well, I'll fix that. Right face. No, about face. No, left.
And while Boris tried frantically to correct his mistake, Colonel Bogus was examining General Broadbeam's examination papers.
But...
The only thing you could possibly be is...
Yes?
A general. You're released, sir.
And the general dashed out of the guardhouse in time to save our heroes. In no time at all, the disguised Boris found himself in the pokey.
I told you not to go on giving orders, darling.
I only got one more to give, Natasha.
What's that?
Shut up your mouth!
And in just a few minutes more, General Broadbeam had the whole Upsidaisium vault surrounded by a company of soldiers.
We'll try to sneak up on him from inside, General.
Right, Rocky. Now hear this, Mr. Big. You can't possibly get away. Come out with your hands up.
Now that I am so close to success, never.
Unfortunately, Rocky chose that moment to enter the vault, but before he knew what was happening, had been seized, bound, and gagged by Mr. Big.
Now we shall see who has the upper hand.
And grabbing a huge ingot of the precious Upsidaisium, the arch criminal started out of the vault.
No, I got you. Oops.
Stand back, Mr. Moose, if you don't want your little friend to be hurt.
You wouldn't dare. Would he, Rock? Oh.
And as Bullwinkle stood by helplessly, Mr. Big stepped boldly out of the building.
Here he comes, men. Ready, aim.
Hold it, General. That's my buddy he's got with him.
You mean Rocky is a hostage?
He's a squirrel, and don't you forget it.
I guess we're helpless.
Sure enough, Mr. Big, with Rocky as his prisoner, marched unscathed to the front gate of Fort Knick-Knack and stepped through to freedom with the Upsidaisium still in his grasp.
Now, wait a minute. Wait a minute. You mean this story ends with the bad guys winning?
Looks like it, Mr. Moose.
Well, that does it. I'll never watch TV again.
But just then, a remarkable thing happened.
I thought so.
What do you mean, remarkable? Everything is exactly the same as it was. Oh, what is it?
Sure enough, the fabulous anti-gravity metal was up to its old tricks and was lifting Mr. Big higher and higher into the air.
Let go, you fool.
Never.
But that's a one-way trip you're on, fella.
Let loose of that stuff.
We'll catch you.
Never is mine, do you hear? Mine.
And the greedy thief, unwilling to part with his ill-gotten gains, kept rising higher and higher into the air until he disappeared from view and was never seen again. Rocky was safe, and the villains foiled.
Yay!
Well, our story did have a happy ending after all.
But boy, it was close.
And now here's a final word from our hero himself, who says... Translation, be with us next time for the further adventures of Rocky, the Flying Squirrel.